Welcome to the Book Club for Movies. We are kicking off Irish Week.
With the only Irish filter that Be Live had to offer, which was leprechaun themed.
Yeah. And you know, if Samir, if you put your head, you could look like you're wearing the hat. There you go. Yeah, sorry guys. I get excited about themes, and this is what we had to work with here. But it is Irish Week. This is also the 52nd week of doing this show. Although I don't think we're officially celebrating the 1 year until next week of doing the show. But yeah, it's a lot going on. But happy Monday, everyone. Amy and Samir here. Exciting things this Monday. Monday morning, the Oscar nominations came out. Samir, why don't you talk about those?
So we were not terribly surprised by anything, I would say. I felt like almost everything that got nominated would be something that based on just the regular, the trades, the movie trades, the presses. These are pretty much the movies that I figured would be the ones that would end up on these lists. So Best Picture nominees, The Father, which I keep forgetting existed. I'm really sorry, Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah,
I just keep forgetting.
That one.
Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, which I guess will eventually watch, but I really hate Aaron Sorkin, so it's going to be a really hard sell for me. Minari, which I've been hearing nothing but good things about. And that's pretty amazing because that is also one of the few times Asian American actors have been nominated for Best Actor. Let's see, Nomadland also got a Best Picture nod. Promising Young Woman, which I am still waiting until the rental price has dropped significantly.
Well, if it doesn't before the Oscars, I'm gonna have to break down and go ahead and rent that one.
Yeah, then Sound of Metal, which I've been really intrigued to watch. It's not the kind of movie that you expect the Academy to.
That's available on Prime.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I just want because that was another one that I haven't watched yet. Yeah, there's quite a few I haven't watched yet.
Yes, that one I'm very curious about it. I was happy to see that it got nominated for Sound Awards. I mean, you would think a movie with the title Sound of Metal would automatically be considered, but there have been so many years where sound nominees tend to just go. It just tends whatever the action movies are or the war movies are that are out those are the nominees for sound automatically. If it has explosions, you're the sound nominees. If you're anything else that doesn't just have explosions, it's like the art of sound doesn't exist in Academy voters' brains. So I was glad to see this because this also explores, what it's like to be going deaf, which automatically by itself gives you like probably the richest palette as a creative sound person to work with. So it's such an interesting, different subject to see recognized as a Best Picture nominee. It just makes me ecstatic to see something like that up there. And with Eastern actors, also another actor from the East. There's 2 Asian actors nominated. Like it's a very different looking Oscars in that sense. So there's a lot of wonderful surprises in that way. I would just say the titles that got nominated didn't surprise me because it's what I'd been hearing about all year, and there wasn't a whole lot to choose from. But the last Best Picture nominee was Trial of the Chicago 7, which I know you watched. I have not watched it yet.
Yeah, that's on Netflix. I really don't think it's going to win anything. It
does not have that kind of.
It was okay.
Buzz.
So far, out of the ones I've actually seen, I would pick Mank. However, there's still many of those that I haven't seen and really, really want to see. And Mank wasn't even, I don't know, so far there haven't been any films where I was like, wow, that's the clear Best Picture winner. They were all good. Nomadland was really good. But again, I wasn't just like blown away by anything so far. But I still have several other films on that list. The one that really surprised me for the best foreign film was that The Life Ahead, or Sophia Loren movie from last week, wasn't nominated. And I thought for sure that one was going to at least get nominated. Maybe not win, but nominated, and that one didn't make it on there. So that was kind of sad, but
yeah. But, ironically, there's another double nominee thing with one of the international feature. They now call it international feature film. They don't call it non-English language film or foreign language film. They just call it international feature film at the Oscars. So this is, I think, the first year of that. But one of the movies nominated, Collective, the Romanian entry, is also a nominee as best documentary feature. That is a double that I don't think I've seen. Somebody who knows their super Oscar trivia can chime in, but I feel like that's the first time we've had like the same movie nominated in a documentary feature and international or foreign language feature. It's not usual that a documentary is nominated for international foreign language film or whatever I'm used to hearing it called foreign language film, but that category usually doesn't have documentaries. Documentaries almost never make that category. They usually just get nominated as a documentary.
Must be really good.
So I'm like, that one instantly piqued my curiosity. Okay, now I've got to see what this is about. Clearly there's a lot of interesting movies that I do hope people explore. The documentary films, the documentary features, the short subject films. I was really surprised to see Sacha Baron Cohen nominated for Best Supporting Actor for Trial of the Chicago 7. Not for Borat.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to win.
The other actor from Borat was nominated, but people have been raving about Maria Bakalova.
I know. I'm gonna have to actually watch that movie now. I think one of
and it's like it's interesting to see that rewarded also, because think about it, it's a different kind of acting performance. It's a lot of it is improv, but it's also like it's just a kind of improv that there is no other real like similar thing to compare it to. You can't compare it to just like America's Funniest Home Videos kind of thing. This is like a step beyond, like way beyond that, into territory it's very hard to really pin down and define precisely. So the kind of acting necessary to be in a movie like that is very tricky. And so it's nice to see somebody in one of those, like somebody get nominated for that kind of work. They still didn't do it for Sacha. They nominated him for supporting role. Also, the supporting actor category made me curious also. Like, I think Lakeith Stanfield, who was the lead of the film, is nominated in the supporting actor role with Daniel Kaluuya.
I didn't realize
they were both nominated for Best Supporting Actor, which it implies that even the Academy either doesn't agree that movie had one dominant narrative that the movie is about, and they couldn't figure it out themselves, or something was holding them back from nominating one of these guys for Best Actor, and I don't know what that could have been. Because we all know that Daniel Kaluuya is like already now he's an Oscar favorite. Like the Oscars will nominate him almost anytime he's in a big a movie that has a lot of good PR behind it. Because the first one that brought him to everyone's attention was Get Out, and it was just like so undeniably brilliant that it automatically elevated him to that tier of actors. Kind of like, what's her name from Silver Linings Playbook? Like, she'll get nominated almost any time she's in a half-serious movie now. Jennifer fell down the stairs. What's her name? Lawrence. There we go. But she's another person that she got nominated right away, and now she can pretty much bank on a nomination whenever she feels like it. If she just picks the right movie, it's almost guaranteed. And I feel like Daniel Kaluuya is gonna get to that. I think he's kind of there. He hasn't, his stardom has only lasted. It's only been a couple of years since he became a superstar because of the one movie, and he's already got 2 nominations now under his belt. So let's hope that trend continues and he just keeps getting good roles, and then the Academy will just be like, well, he's already in the club. He's in the Oscar club of nominees, so he'll always be a first choice if he's in a good movie. His name will instantly be put on the list, and Academy voters will just think of him as a nominee all the time.
I was really
so let's hope that continues
2 female nominees for director. That is a first. There's only been a handful of women nominated ever, and now there's 2 in 1 year, so that's really exciting. We'll see who win. Is it Chloe? Chloe Zhao. She already won for Nomadland at the Golden Globe, so we'll keep an eye out for the DGA awards. I think another thing that's interesting about this year versus any other year is normally it's like these nominations will come out, and during the Oscar movie season, I would go to the movie theater all the time, like sometimes even multiple times a week. My dad and I would go, thinking like, okay, any of these movies could get nominated. That didn't happen this year. So normally it's like whatever movies I managed to not see in theaters, they'd get nominated, and sometimes they wouldn't be in theaters anymore, and I'd have to wait. Be like, oh great, like now I can't wait until like months until it's going to be available. But I think this year, pretty much all these movies, I think you should be able to watch somewhere. Either go ahead and pay to rent it or stream it somewhere. So that's one thing. So now it's like there's still so many movies that I haven't seen, and I'm going to watch them all. I will guarantee to watch all the Best Picture nominees before the Oscars. And that's something that I think is kind of cool about a otherwise horrible year for film. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that, to like really feeling like I have a solid opinion having seen everything. So many of these are available, included with streaming apps. Some of them you still have to rent, like Nomadland's on Hulu. Several of these are on Netflix, HBO Max. Still try and catch Judas and the Black Messiah. I'm not sure how much longer that one's going to be on there. But that's one benefit, I think, this year. Yeah.
I agree. But of course, we've had other movies to watch.
Yes, we have. Now it is Irish Week. If you're joining us, we will be talking about Killian Murphy today to kick things off for a Man Crush Monday. But before that, let's talk about Friday's Cult Classic Friday pick. Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion. Oh boy, this was so much fun to watch again.
So many great lines that I like I said before, I was going to end up quoting almost the whole movie as I watched it, and I did.
Yes. I love all the characters in this.
Sorry.
The
fashions. Yeah. My God, but there was some I was having one of those like, oh yeah, this moment, oh yeah, this moment, oh yeah, this moment kind of reviewing of the movie. So I kept, she's like, oh, what have you been up to, Heather Mooney? She's like, oh, you ever hear of Lady Fair cigarettes? Oh, the ones that burn down real fast, twice the taste and half the time for the gallon to go. I'm better the quick burning paper. Like that's the level of memorization of this script that I have in my brain. But like the movie opening with them like making fun of Pretty Woman for its toupee. And then being like, well, it hit, she's like, oh, really boo-hoo, look at her, they won't let her shop. Well, it is kind of sad,
I know.
But
she's also really into it.
The idea that they are designing their own clothes and, and like they're not, there's more to these characters. It's not just like a silly, dumb comedy. That like it's not like a Dumb and Dumber type comedy where it's just like, hey, we can just make these characters as dumb as we want and people will laugh, and that's the movie.
Offense to that as well.
And here it's like, well, I mean, I don't know anybody who would make the argument that those are characters of depth in Dumb and Dumber. I have a feeling you're going to have a really hard time defending that position. So you are welcome to love the movie as much as you want. But I will say the characters in this movie definitely plumb better and more satisfying depths than Dumb and Dumber. I don't want to
go down that rabbit hole. I'm just going to leave it with, I think that Lloyd and Harry do have depth, and we'll leave it at that. I do think that Romeo and Michelle in this film, no, we will never agree on this, Samir. Never.
I know, because you love being wrong about movies sometimes. It's okay.
No, not Dumb and Dumber. Dumb and Dumber shaped who I am. as well as other Jim Carrey comedies from
You
that
are
era.
a lot funnier than Dumb and Dumber, Amy. I will say that.
Well, I will take that as a compliment. I don't think it's correct, but yeah. I do think that these characters, though, I was kind of offended after watching the movie by this poster, which is blocked by our leprechaun hat here, but it says the blonde leading the blonde, which really plays, of course, on the dumb blonde aspect. I didn't even necessarily think that they're dumb. I was like, they're
No,
fun
they're not.
and they're kind of awkward, but they're not dumb. And thank you, Luke. Dumb and Dumber shaped who I am as well. But yeah, I thought that this was really ended up being like a very empowering kind of feminist film, as far as you know, they realize that they are worthy and they are successful in their own way. And this is something I was talking about on Friday a lot, about how like I didn't go to my high school reunion, which was just a few years ago, because I was thinking like, oh, like I don't want to go there and be like, oh yeah, like I'm trying to be an actor, but you know, it's kind of hard. And that was one of the main reasons why I didn't want to go. And seeing this and having them have like these same feelings of like, oh, we don't feel like we've really accomplished anything in 10 years. And then by the end they realize like, no, like, you know, we have, like there are things that we could do and we're talented and, you know, we're just like awesome people. And I love that Lisa Kudrow has that character that was like, or she has that line that where she says like, you know, like I had a blast in high school and it wasn't, and, you know, I loved being us. And it wasn't until you had mentioned that it was miserable that I even kind of like thought about it. But like, I thought it was great. And I love being friends with you. And, you know, I kind of wasn't paying attention to what anyone else thought. So I thought this had some very, yeah, insightful lines in this that I really related to.
Well, like I said, you know, it makes real human beings out of these characters, which is what I think elevates them above characters in other comedies for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I relate to these people. I can see myself in these characters. You know, you can't see yourself in every comedy character, and you know, you don't have that sense of identification with them as a human being. That's not something you always get out of slapstick humor. It's something that's kind of pretty much very judiciously cut out of slapstick humor. It's you have a slight little element of it that makes it relatable in terms of body humor, but beyond that, they kind of let you they want you to be silly and have a good time. They don't want you to think about deep things. You're there to have fun. And it's nice to have a movie that manages to be fun and makes you think about those things. Because every human being, everybody who's had to go to a 10-year reunion, it's like when you look down that list of questions and then you're trying to like judge your life by those standards, you feel like a failure, you know? And there's so many people that I think look back and wonder, you know, who was I in high school? And what did I want to do then? And who am I as an adult? And what do I want to do now? And it's like, well, here are two characters. Maybe they're slightly still childlike, but there's a childlike nature that's just part of their personality. And it's not a sign of them not being adults. It's just they're people who didn't necessarily want to stop enjoying their lives. And they wanted to do the things that made them happy. And they actually found that, you know, they've clearly been exhibiting this talent since they were teenagers. And it was like, oh, they actually get to own a shop. It was like the happiest ending of all for me is that they get to own a shop at the end. And it's like, oh, isn't it like she's our daughter? It's like, well, kind of, you know, so like she's a big girl and she smokes and says shit a lot.
Yeah, I definitely laughed out loud a lot in this. I also loved one of the things I know that I compare my life to a lot is like, oh, there's so many people my age that are getting married and having kids and all this stuff. And I compare myself to that. And then at the same time, it's like, I still don't even know if I would like want kids, or certainly at this point in my life, like that's still something like that'd be years and years off, maybe even a decade off. I'm 40, I'll adopt or something. And I think that, there was a little bit of that with these characters, but then she's like, oh yeah, we have like, she's pregnant again. This is like their third baby. And I think it's Mira Sorvino who says something like, she's like, wow, like you must feel really tied down or something. It's just
no,
good point.
It's very fulfilling.
Yeah, it's very fulfilling.
But like in the dream sequence, oh my god, the dream sequence. I
forgot that was a dream sequence until like halfway through, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that's like this
remember
like,
and then
extended fantasy sequence that they had.
Where she's like, wow. First, you have to add a epoxide, which is just a fancy schmancy name for any simple oxygenated adhesive. And then I thought maybe, just maybe, I could increase the viscosity by adding a complex glucose derivative during the emulsification process. And it turns out I was right. Told you I know this movie.
I know.
But also the color-coded daiquiris and with the mean girls, basically. I mean, it's just like, what are you talking about us for anyway? We're not the ones who got fat.
Like, we're pregnant. Yeah, the
we could quote this movie all day long. I'm gonna probably watch it again before the week is over.
Yeah. This movie was great. It was so fun. A lot more to it than just like the little fun silly comedy some people will probably write this off as, but a lot more to it. Fantastic female comedic performances by Mira and Lisa. But if you haven't seen this, it is available to rent right now. Unfortunately, I don't think it's, but you always have to check like weekly with how things change on streaming platforms. Could be on one week, next week, on something else. Yeah.
I fished out my DVD for this, so I was good.
Yeah. Again, if I see a cheap DVD of this somewhere, I think I will buy that. But finally, we've had a lot to talk about today. Let's move on to our first topic of Irish Week, our Man Crush Monday, Mr. Killian Murphy. Oh boy. Known for his eyes, among other things. He's kind of like the Irish Elijah Wood of just having these like piercing blue eyes that he's known for. And that's
if we're talking about eyes, I suppose, yes.
Yeah, so I was like, that's probably the only comparison I'd make. Because they're just very different actors. Killian Murphy was born May 25th, 1976 in Douglas, County Cork, Ireland. He comes from a family of educators. His parents were both teachers. He was kind of a bad boy in high school. He got really involved in music for a while. He was kind of like on this path to being a professional musician. But someone in his band, I think he was still like in high school, so they were, or primary school or whatever. It's like, I don't know, what prep school, whatever they call it over there. He was still in school. So that was an issue, and then Killian Murphy also, I guess, was like really didn't feel great about it, and he has no regrets not signing this. It was a pretty big contract. It was going to be like a 5-album deal or something, but he was later like, record companies just take your life away and they own all of your music, and yeah, he has no regrets, but he's still very interested in music, and I would like to see him sing and perform music. He did get involved in acting, though. He also said, I know. Well, he was in musicals. He in his theater career, he was in musicals, including
I mean a film musical.
Film musical, yes, but one of his stage performances, he was in Little Shop. He got involved in theater, and he said that he really was kind of more into it, thinking that he could like get with women. But as it turns out, he was actually pretty good, and he was like, well, I think I'm just going to stick with this, and got an agent. He was in theater. His first really big theater production was Disco Pigs, which was something that was only supposed to run for a few weeks, maybe a few months, and ended up touring for like 2 years internationally. He ended up reprising his role in the film adaptation of that movie, continued to be in other theater roles, and eventually it made it into film, was in some short films and TV and things like that. Late 90s, around 2000s. And it was in 2002, he made his really big break when he was in 28 Days Later, which I still haven't seen. We almost picked it for today.
Shocking.
Yeah, we almost picked it. I still have not seen that movie, if you could believe it or not. I'm just reading this description. He portrayed pandemic survivor Jim. Like pandemics. Oh boy, but that was just like instantly, like, that was a massive hit. That movie alone just kind of changed the whole zombie genre forever. Everyone was obsessed with zombies for a while, and still are a little bit. Continued to be in theater and film. He started playing more villainous roles for a while. He was in several films with Christopher Nolan, including the Dark Knight series. He played Scarecrow, is that his name? Yes, Scarecrow. Mm-hmm. It's been forever since I've seen just the first Batman Begins. Here's a fun.
He's very good in it.
I worked with Killian on Peaky Blinders. He has a real presence and stunning eyes, apart from being an amazing actor. But Paul Anderson was my on-set crush. He brought his dog on set.
We've got somebody who's worked with dear Killian.
Yes.
Oh my goodness! I hear. Yes, details. Yeah, details.
In 2005, he was in Breakfast on Pluto, which is the film that we picked for today. And to date, that is the only, he got nominated for a Golden Globe for that. Didn't win. Has just continued to be in films and TV. And his most recent thing in the last several years was being the lead on Peaky Blinders. Those Peaky Blinders fans, I still haven't watched the most recent season. So, no spoilers. Yeah, but he's just someone, he's been around for a while now. He's in his 40s. He has a pretty private personal life. He's not really into being a celebrity per se. He shows up at premieres alone. He doesn't have an entourage. He's married. I think he has a couple kids. He lives in Ireland. Yeah, that's Killian Murphy for you.
And I appreciate that about something. Like, he doesn't really want to play the Hollywood game. He just found something he was good at and wanted to do it, and got big opportunities. But he never let the fame go to his head. He kept his sense of self intact throughout it. So those, he definitely didn't allow himself to become one of those Hollywood types where your identity and your personal life and your public identity are like two different people that you have to manage. He seems like someone who has managed to just be himself on off the screen and not fall into any of those traps. That some of that just warms my heart a little bit more, knowing that he has had, but it's the blessing of success. You get a couple big movies, you can pretty much do whatever you want. You can get cast in almost any movie that you really, if you really want a role and you ask for it, you can get it, because they're like, oh, well, we have this history of your box office successes that people will associate with you. But it's been a while since I've seen him in a movie, and I'm really excited to rewatch the movie that we chose for today. I think back in the day, this was one of my favorite roles of his, and I'm curious to see how the movie looks with the way the world has changed since this movie came out. Will it still seem progressive and up to date? Will it seem somewhat antiquated? Is its heart essentially in the right place, which is how I always perceived it, that it's coming from a place of love, not coming from a place of judgment on this character. So that's what I remember from the film, but I don't remember a whole lot else about it.
It's been a long time since I've seen it too. One final thing about him, I always try to highlight humanitarian work. He worked with Rock the Vote in Ireland. He has campaigned for rights of the homeless in Ireland. He's worked with the United Nations a lot. And in 2015, he was named one of GQ's 50 Best Dressed Men. I don't know why that was put in the same section as that. But today's film is Breakfast on Pluto. This came out in 2005 by Neil Jordan. this week when we were putting Irish Week together, it was almost all Neil Jordan films at first. And surprisingly, he's not going to be our director for tomorrow, but
we had 3.
What else do we have? I think we have another. I don't know if we ended up having, we at one point we had 3 Neil Jordan films in 1 week. Neil Jordan is his most famous film.
Yeah, I think we
is
cut them all out.
Crying Game, which has a little bit of slightly similar topics as this film, and because of that, he had ideas for this film several years before this came out, but I guess he was a little hesitant to revisit that subject matter again. Killian Murphy had auditioned for this role as early as 2001. And he was someone that really was trying to push Neil Jordan, like, no, like, I really want to do this role. Let's do this. Let's make this film. But Neil Jordan, he has worked with so many, it's like, the Irish film community seems to be very small. Of like, okay, we're pulling from the same actors. He works with Liam Neeson a lot, whose name is hidden again by the leprechaun hat here. Killian Murphy's been several films.
But also Stephen Rea.
Yeah, Stephen Rea has been several films as well. But this movie came out in 2005, as I said. In the 1970s, a young trans woman, Patrick Kitten Braden, comes of age by leaving her Irish town for London, in part to look for her mother, and in part because her gender identity is beyond the town's understanding. Starring Killian Murphy and Liam Neeson, Ruth McCabe, bunch of Irish people. And it's been a while since I've seen this. I think I probably saw this closer to when it came out, maybe a few years after. I remember this being really popular among just kind of like the independent film. I think I was more involved in watching independent films when I was like in high school than I am now. I seem to know about what films were coming out and what films were good. And I just remember seeing all these striking images of Killian Murphy. And I think at the time I'd only seen him in a few other things. I was really surprised, like, wow, like he is not someone I would have expected to be in this role. There were some comments when this movie came out that he was like too pretty to be in this.
That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. It's like he's playing a trans woman, like, but
I don't understand what too pretty to play this role means in this context.
I don't know. But other people thought that he was fantastic in this film. Yeah. Oh, Walter is joining us from YouTube. Hello, Walter.
YouTube. Walter was in Facebook jail.
Walter's in Facebook timeout. So I'm glad you could join us on YouTube. Yeah.
I have many questions for Walter. Film? What was that?
What are your memories of watching this film? I know it's been a while for you as well, but
I honestly, it's been so long. I remember buying it on DVD right when it came out. And then it took me like forever because, back then that was when I still worked at Borders.
Mm-hmm.
And I would every single payday, I would spend a good chunk of my check on new movies. And so I always had stacks and stacks of movies that I hadn't gone through. So by the time I got to the DVD of it, I was like, it was a year later when I finally got to the movie and I watched it. And then I was like, I'm so ashamed of myself for waiting the whole year. I should have watched this right away. It was, I really liked it. But I don't have any memory of the specific nature of the plot. Because it's kind of a generic plot where it's like you leave home, your hometown doesn't understand you, so you strike out on your own to find a place to be you and start your own life, but it's told from it's another movie where they picked, a cisgendered heterosexual actor to play one of these type of characters. But this movie doesn't have the sheen of like Oscar bait. This isn't an Oscar bait movie. So there's no like attempt to be like, oh, we're giving this role to this actor because he's going to instantly get an Oscar nomination for doing this. And no, it was not trying to be that kind of movie. So I think it was a little freer to tell a slightly more complex story than what normally the Academy would suddenly open their hearts to, in their, their new education and how to accept everybody. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a movie made to cater to people who want to prove to themselves that they understand this issue. It's like a real story. Like, they're telling a genuine story doesn't have any of those goals. So that's what the feeling that I got from that, I remember from it, that like this movie wasn't trying to appeal to award committees. It was just trying to tell an actual story, but it's visually, I remember it being visually really fabulous. Like I said, we'll see how Killian Murphy comes off in the role. I think he looks great, or they look great on the poster image. That's actually looks like the DVD cover more than the poster, but I can't remember anymore.
It is.
It's been that many years.
I shared earlier, you couldn't really see him. There was like a silhouette of him, and so this actually is the DVD cover.
Oh, I was right. But hello from Poland also. Look at what we got, people from all over. We got people from
international people today.
See, if I look up in the comments, I believe we had somebody from Sweden. We've got some folks, I think, from Ireland. I think looks like we've got folks in Poland. I'm like, this is pretty awesome. Thank you for joining.
Thank you. Yes, and don't be shy with the comments. I'm especially curious to see this because Neil Jordan did The Crying Game, which I still haven't seen, but we had almost picked that film for this week. And Samir had given me a lot of insight into that film, as far as there's, like, I guess the most famous part of that film is discovering that someone is trans, and it's not really done in, like, I don't know, the best way, or it's kind of more like, oh, this is a shock, and I don't know, by today's standards, there's be a little troubling. So I'm curious to see this film and see how this differs from the kind of more negative reaction from that film.
Yeah, this will be an interesting watch. I mean, I still am going to go back and watch The Crying Game, because it's always good to rewatch these kinds of movies that have, at some point, if it was considered controversial, well, when the times have changed, when you're looking at just the film by itself outside of the temporal context, is the movie, offensive to this community or not? Because, in the end, if we ever get to a place of real equality, then, people won't have there won't be these associations of that are tied into depictions of characters who are often excluded from films. Like, gay characters were often villains and monsters because they're unnatural, and that, like, you could see the effect of the culture played out in the way those characters were in movies in some way. And then there's other movies where that's just this character in this story. Like, that is not necessarily the thing that makes them evil. This is just another aspect of the character. So hopefully someday anybody can play any kind of role. So a gay person can play a villain, and it's not a symptom of the way the society vilifies gay people. So the same thing with trans people of color. Like, that's always sort of like, there's always this phase where you have to go through where you're sort of villainous form in these stories. And it's like part of the transition to acceptance and normalcy on screen. Like, for instance, I just watched, Walter mentioned that movie, I Care a Lot. It's a Netflix movie. Rosamund Pike won a Golden Globe for it. And the thing that struck me about that movie was the fact that character was a lesbian and her partner was a woman was, like, completely immaterial to the story. It was just, this is her partner that is in danger now because of her actions and them trying to save themselves. It's just a couple. There's no, like, okay, we're also fighting homophobia at the same time. We're trying to, milk old people for the, it's like they're not trying to mix in that kind of that other story. It's like, I'm like, oh, are we at a place where it's just normal people accept a same-sex couple on screen to the point that they just go along with a story, and you don't have to insert a story about, or you don't have to insert homophobic prejudice as part of the plot of your story just because a character is gay. So I'm like, okay, this is a step in the right direction. Whatever you feel about that movie, I'm like, okay, well, that is kind of what you want. Like, that's not a likable character, but no one's upset that Rosamund Pike's character is not a likable character. right now, because you just see that as a character, and one aspect of the character is that, oh, they're not straight, they're gay, and it's not a big deal. So it was very interesting. So I'm wondering, how these movies will look to us again in 20 more years. Will we see all the ways in which they're kind of highlighting all these things? They're trying to be like, hey, we want to show you that we understand with this, and it will stick out like, kind of like, the wrong color in a pattern. Or is it going to all blend together and feel seamless in the future? It'll be interesting. So it's going to be fun for that aspect for me to watch this movie again now. And I'm going to reserve any kind of feeling, judgment, proclamation until tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, especially because this movie already is 15, 16 years old. So it'll be really interesting to see how things have changed even since then. This movie is available on Prime Video. I see we have a lot more people joining from other countries, so I don't know.
Nova Scotia in the house too.
Hello, Nova Scotia. Yeah, so I don't know what the streaming situation is like in other countries, but in the US, it's on Prime Video. Yeah. So please check that out and join us tomorrow for our discussion of it. Tomorrow, for our Director Tuesday, we are going to be talking about Irish director Jim Sheridan. Excited to learn more about him as well. Oh, we've got someone from Australia too. Hello. People from all over. Yeah, thank you. We love comments. Please check out our Patreon if you are interested. Put the link over in the comments. Also, we have merchandising. I should be getting my book club for movies t-shirt and coffee mug any day now, and I'm really excited. You'll see me with my little book club for movies coffee mug. Yeah, but we greatly appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed our Killian Murphy discussion today. Hope you enjoy Breakfast on Pluto. Join us tomorrow for after the movie discussion. Moving on to director. Why do I keep forgetting his name every time?
Jim Sheridan.
Sorry, guys. I'm so bad with names.
It's okay. Yes, I can't wait to hear all y'all's thoughts on this movie tomorrow. If you have time, please join us when we have our, as Amy said, our after the movie discussion on this film. And then we will move on to legendary Irish director Jim Sheridan. We have not attempted Irish accents yet, but maybe after one or two movies by the middle of the week, perhaps there will be an extra lilt to our voices that we are not intending.
Watch Breakfast on Pluto on Amazon Prime. Working on it.
All right. We're going to work on it.
I try and think of Colin Farrell. Hello, I'm Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell.
Well,
I'm just
that's a good
voice
to mimic.
Yeah, there we go. All right, guys. Someone is
Alan from Dublin.
Yay! Oh, sorry, you guys are not.
Well, welcome.
Things are easing up here in California, which is probably not a good thing because people are gonna probably celebrate St. Patrick's Day and another spike. Yeah, but good luck with that. Thank you for joining us.
They did just open up another group to be vaccinated, so I'm going to be doing that sometime this week because my group is now it's my turn. It's my turn, along with millions of others, of course. But I'm very excited to be able to go do that. I probably not in time to. There will be no bars open for us to have green beer at. Or anything, whatever they do in bars here now.
I'm going to make an Irish meal at home and drink at home. That's going to be my. I don't go out.
I hope you have the corned beef already marinating. It should have been in there for a week already.
I probably won't make corned beef. Probably make something else.
Well, it's too late for you to do that anyways. It needs to be in the fridge for like 6 to 10 days before you cook it.
Nah, that's too much commitment on my part. Anywho, thank you guys for watching today. Hope you enjoyed Breakfast on Pluto, available on Amazon Prime, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.